What's up, 418 fam? This is the second episode of Crazy Stupid Smart, where we are talking about if things are crazy, stupid, or smart. And so we're going to be talking about that, and we will rate it at the end. But we're going to be talking about some fashion and would you wear it. We're going to be talking about one of the dumbest things that you could possibly do with a car. We are also going to be looking at a description of God that I've never heard before in my life or seen in the Bible. And then we're going to be talking about the new SCOTUS, the new Supreme Court ruling of striking down affirmative action. What do we do with that as Christians? How should we be approaching it? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it crazy, stupid, smart? What do we do with it all? So let's get into it. First of all, I came across this little piece of fashion sense, and man, I just want to share it with you guys and see if you have the same thoughts about this that I do. I need to know, are you going to wear this? Are you wearing this? Because apparently, you know, they think you would. Apparently they do. I'm gonna have to give this one a good old crazy, because maybe I just don't get fashion. Maybe I don't get how fashion things work. You know, they're not really for wearing. It's just for showing. You don't buy it. You just look at. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. We're gonna give that a straight up crazy. Here's something else. All right, let's look at one of the dumbest things that you could do with two cars. Why? What? I like that. What is he trying to accomplish? If he pushes them apart, I will be impressed. If he doesn't push them apart, I'm not sure what we... I won't lie. I kept waiting for his head to pop off. Like, I kept waiting for his head to just... Vamu, just bow. I mean, how much... Okay, we're going to call that... We're going with stupid on that one, okay? Because I don't... Let me tell you, do not try this at home. I don't care how old you are, how strong you think. I'm not sure what he was trying to accomplish with that. All right, let's look real quick at this new description of God that never heard of, never seen in the Bible. Let me tell you, I hope I never hear it again. Look at this. I found this on Candace Owens' show. Not promoting any kind of show. Just I found this and I was flabbergasted, y'all. Listen to this.
I believe in the non-binary God whose pronouns are plural. I believe in Jesus Christ, their child, who wore a fabulous tunic and had two dads.
How do you?
And saw everyone as a sibling child of God. I believe in the calling
Where are you
to each
this?
of us that love is love is love. So beloved, let us love.
What? Who said? Thank you. Who said all this? I feel like they're like making stuff up, / quoting the Beatles, / I mean, what do I even get? I'm gonna give it. I'm giving it both. I'm giving it stupid. I'm giving it crazy. People. Listen, you can't just give God descriptions on your own. Okay, that's not God. That's not who God. You can't just describe him. You can't say I'm a 6'7" white man, because I'm not. Okay, you can't give me descriptions of your own and expect me talking about the same person. It doesn't work that way. So, moving on. Let's talk about affirmative action. Okay, so man, all of a sudden, didn't even know this was a thing. Didn't even know it was a court. What is it? Case that was happening. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about affirmative action, how it got, shut down, and 6-3 ruling, and and so all this stuff is going on. And I wanted to talk to you about it because, number one, that's what we do. We talk about society. We talk about what's going on, but mainly we want to know, one, what the Bible says, and number two, is it crazy, stupid, or smart? And so let's just look at it, because number one, you need to know the role of affirmative action, because I think we may have a bad idea of what it is and what it was for. And originally it was set up in the 1960s in order to help combat a lot of racism that was happening. And so I believe I was doing some research, and John F. Kennedy was saying, especially for government employees and whatnot, it says that the contractor will take affirmative action to ensure the applicants are employed and that employees are treated during the employment without regard to their race, creed, color, or national origin. And so they had to keep records and keep track of, how they were doing that and how they were taking affirmative action. And I think things just start kind of spiraling. And so it goes into education. And so, for instance, there was one school, University of California, right? It said that California's medical school at Davis reserved 16 spots in each entering class of 100 students for minority students. And the court did not hold a majority opinion, but the main legal takeaway from that case is the Constitution prohibits a school from having racial quotas. So there wasn't like a racial quota. That was kind of knocked out. There had to be a way for them to include race into the system, but it couldn't be so much so that that's what the whole thing was based off of. So then we get into it. Well, why did they strike it down? And so these students are coming up and saying, hey, we're not being able to get in because of affirmative action. And a lot of these students were Asian. So it's like, if we're looking at minorities, we're minorities and we're not able to get in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So then justices that voted in favor of striking it down or decided to strike it down, they said, hey, listen, the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, it doesn't support this. It doesn't support this kind of discrimination. And so people can write an essay that says about their, racial experience, but they can't just put I'm black and then you're like, okay, they're black, they're getting in, etc., which a lot of people say wasn't happening anyways. And a lot of the reason why they wanted to know their cultural background was because they wanted a well-rounded school community, etc., etc. So where does that leave us? Where does that put us as Christians and how we should be approaching this whole thing? Because that's really important, because we don't want to just have our opinions. We want God's opinions. And I think this is something that is worth being talked about. I think one of the problems you run into, first of all, is everybody wants things to be black and white. Everybody wants things to be easy. You should just have it based off of merit. Boom. There it is. And other people go, you can't have it based off of merit because these people, this community, the black community, has been oppressed for years and years and years. And because they've been oppressed for years and years and years, they didn't have the same opportunity. So they're not starting off on equal footing. So yeah, you give them a little help in order to be able to make sure that they get into these schools. And they're saying, well, there's two different sides. And so we're sitting there going, well, which one is it? And I think that's our problem. We can't just say, which one is it? Maybe it's not one. Maybe it's a combination of both that are correct. But the question then becomes, what's the Supreme Court's job? The Supreme Court's job is to uphold the law. The Supreme Court's job isn't to create policy, and it's not to create laws. The Supreme Court's job is to look at the law and say, is what's happening here upholding the law? And so that's the decision that they made. And so you have Justice Ketanji Brown, I believe her name is, and she said this. She said, with the let them eat cake obliviousness today, the majority pulls the ripcord and announces color blindness for all by legal fiat. It's not the car, but deeming race irrelevant in law doesn't make it so in life. And she's right. Just because you say, hey, there's not going to be any race here by law doesn't make it so in life. But I would say this. It is not the job of the Supreme Court to make it so in life. It's their job to do it by law. And so then we run into this other question of like, well, what do we do? Like, now you're going to have all these people, or, one side is arguing you're going to have all these people that can't get into school now because they're underprivileged, because they go to schools that are subpar. And they're saying it's going to be segregated now because of just the disparity between the schools, etc. And then you have other people who are saying, no, this is great because now everything's going to be based off of merit. What have you done? Who are you? What are your accomplishments? And so it gets in based off of that. Now, they did say you could say, hey, this is what my racial situation has been in. But I will say this. This is where it gets kind of tricky. And I saw somebody else say this, and I agree with them. It was an Asian student. And he said, not everybody's racial circumstances are the same. Not everybody's experienced the same racial circumstances. And to say because you are black, you have experienced this kind of life situation is automatically a prejudice statement because you're saying all black people have experienced the same situation. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. I have very little in my life experienced racism. As a half black young man, I've very little experienced racism. But I realize that's not the case for all people. So I think the right to share your story and say, hey, here's where I've come from and here's what I've overcome. And people say, well, they shouldn't have to relive that trauma. That may be uncomfortable, but at the same time, I can't assume you've gone through the same trauma this person has just because they are black. And I think that's what we run into. We have created this blanket statement. All black people have had all the same experiences, and they haven't. And so it's important, I think, that we don't look at this as one thing and say it's either this or it's this. So what do we do as Christians? How do we do this? There's a verse in Proverbs 18:17 that I really, really like. It says this: the first to speak in court sounds right until the cross-examination begins. What's that mean? It means that you're going to hear one side and you're like, that's what happened. Then you're going to hear another side and say, that's what happened. So you're going to hear two sides of this. And you're going to say, oh, that's right. No, wait, that's right. No, wait, that's right. And guess what? Sometimes two things can be true at the same time. The court's job is to uphold the law. The people's job is to be kind. It is to help. It is to serve. It is to love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I'm talking about this as a Christian, right? So the colleges may be saying, well, okay, we're not going to just look at this blank statement. This person is African American. This person is Hispanic. This person is this. And so we're going to do this because of that. Now, all of a sudden, we have to start going, how are we going to help people who are in underprivileged situations in order for them to actually have a leg up and an ability to go farther than they could on their own? In Isaiah 1:17, God says this: learn to do good, seek justice, help the oppressed, defend the cause of the orphans, fight for the rights of widows. God's saying here, listen, there are people out there that are oppressed. There are people out there that are struggling. There are people that are underprivileged. And your job as people, right? He's talking to people, not the government. Your job is to make sure that you are helping these people in any way you can. So this may look like tutoring people. This may look like if you have enough money and you eventually go on to get your own business and you start just helping people in underprivileged communities. See, the court's job isn't to do that. Their job is to make sure that everybody is equal before the law. But their job is to make sure that there's equity, meaning this, that everybody starts off in the same spot. They can't do that. It's impossible. And it's impossible to do it without hurting someone else. I can't make you equal to someone else if you weren't without hurting that other person. Okay? I'm going to take what this person has and give it to you so that you have equity. Well, now I hurt this person. But what we can do is make sure that everybody has equality through the court system, but then the people begin to do their part before God and before other people and for other people to begin to help them, to begin to just give what you can. At our church right now, we're going to go to a camp. And there are people that are giving money to help kids who don't have enough money to go to that camp. Well, sweet. That's the way it's supposed to work. But I can't go in there and say, hey, all you kids that can afford it, you have to give extra money to make sure these kids can afford it. I can't do that. And that's what the law is not supposed to do either. But we do make it an opportunity where I say, hey, if you want to give a scholarship, you can give a scholarship. And so people can give scholarships in that way and help. And so we have to look beyond the black and the white and say, this is right, or this is right, or this is wrong, or this is wrong. No. There's a combination of things that are happening here. And we need to make sure that as people of God, that we are taking that into consideration and say, what can I do? What can I do? So crazy, stupid, smart, I'm going to have to actually refrain on this one, because I think there's too much to be seen. There's too much to be done. There's too much to be thought about on two different sides in order for us to say it's one thing or the other. Don't get caught up in binary and polarizing arguments when there's always something going on in the middle. This is Crazy, Stupid, Smart. I hope this helps you. If it did, please share this with somebody else. I was actually going to wait on this episode, but I decided, man, I got to get in on this now because I want it to be fresh in your mind on what's going on. Please share this with somebody else. Let me know what you think, and make sure you've downloaded the 42 Revolution app. If you haven't, make sure you go ahead and download it now and then share it with somebody else. We want to help you grow in God and know what you believe and why you believe it and live it out boldly. We'll see you next time.
Join the revolution.